Hey, I'm Walt, and I'm here with another quick thought. Something it just hit my mind when I was sitting here thinking. What I was thinking about is what is the difference between the haves and the have-nots? And I've come to the conclusion that the difference really is just forward thinking. I think those that have are able to better prepare themselves now with the intentions of having more later. And one of those things that really stuck out to me is I remember in June of 2022, Amazon and Google did a stock split. Now, when they did that stock split, shortly after, that is when inflation started to rise. And when inflation rises, you had the federal government or the treasury, they were trying to combat it. And one of the ways that they do that is by increasing interest rates. And when interest rates get increased, that always tends to have a negative impact on the stock market because the higher the interest rates, I guess the sentiment is that the more it costs to borrow money, the more it costs to borrow money, the less likely businesses are to borrow money so that they can expand and grow and become more profitable. So you had a stock like Amazon and Google that did their stock split, right? And these stocks, now mind you, before the stock split, these companies, their stocks were trading at well over $2,000, $3,000 a share, right? Well over $2,000, $3,000 a share. So when they did the stock split, it was 20 to 1. So they did the split, they were around 100 and some change, or maybe 126, 110. So after the Fed started to increase the interest rates along with the majority of the stock market, they were going down. I remember at one point Google, and if you remember, put one in the comments. At one point, Google was like $88. Now, me personally, when I saw that they did that stock split, my mind was, well, Amazon and Google are forward thinking companies. They're ever evolving. They captured the market share in the spaces that they're in. And we see that today. So even with those shares being beaten down overall because of the entire market, I saw it as an opportunity. So fast forward, if a person would have made a sacrifice, right, just one sacrifice a month, and would have bought one share of Amazon or Google up until they were about 120. So let's say you did it for 12 months. Your average cost for all your shares would have probably been about $105, $120. As of the close of the market on Friday, November the 7th, both of these stocks are over 240 something dollars, meaning that forward thinking in 2022 would have doubled your money today. And I'm not no financial advisor, so this isn't any financial advice, but I would not be shocked. You fast forward, that was 3 years ago. You fast forward 3 years from now, you wouldn't be surprised if that same investment is worth 10 times as much. Now, going back to the haves and the have nots, that's the difference. When that stock was getting beaten down by the entire market because of the interest rates and the response to that, the haves, the forward thinkers, they said, you know what? People still buying Amazon. Packages are still piling up at people's doors. People are still using YouTube. People are Googling every single day. I know why the market is down. Let me do my research. Let me understand. Hey, this isn't just because these two companies aren't, profitable. No, it's because of the interest rates. Now, They do that, and guess what? They're reaping the benefits today. So the thing I want to say is, you know what? Are we being forward thinking enough? Right? If someone was to say, hey, we're in a recession, I wouldn't disagree. It may not be something that is openly being spoken. It may not, quote unquote, have hit the the specifications of what a recession once was, which I personally think in the future will be changed. Um, but I could see how that definitely could be the case. So, but in the '08 recession, when we look at the 2020 pandemic, and or even like I said, the 2022, stock market being hit so hard because of the result of interest rates being increased, there was always opportunities for the forward thinkers to make moves that in a few years could be life changing. So, the question I have to you and anyone else, what is the forward thinking moves that we should be making today? Let me know what you think those are and leave them in the comments.